In this video, we're gonna talk about Lattice in Blender and how we can use the Lattice modifier to create complex shapes, and also how we can create a wireframe that can be visible in 3D, so 3D framing essentially. And with this, create like the mullions for a curtain wall, or the frame for a picture or for a window, and so on. So similar objects. So the first thing we're gonna do, I'm gonna delete here. We're gonna see the easiest way we can create these effects, and then we will also use some more advanced features. So the first thing I want to do is a quick wireframe. So what I can do here is go to Add, Mesh, and let's add a plane. Now I want to rotate this plane around the X, so I can also expand this sidebar and go to the rotation, choose the X, and if I want to do this precisely, I can type 90, so I have a perfectly frontal plane. And then I want to have well, something more interesting in terms of wireframe, because what we're going to work with is going to be the wireframe. And right now the wireframe, you can see, are these 4 lines or segments or edges. So in order to have more interesting results, we need more subdivisions. So what I can do is select this plane and go to edit mode. And now we have only one face we can work with. So to increase the number of face, we can right click and use the subdivision. So subdivide. And the more I click on subdivide, the more panels I create, essentially, the more faces I create that I can work with. Especially if I want to do like curvy surfaces, I need more of these. Now, I don't want to add too many because things could get confusing. So I'm just going to leave this level of subdivisions right here. Now, the other thing we're going to do is, before we actually continue and see all the different tips and tricks and techniques and tools, is go to Edit, Preferences, and I want to turn on two specific add-ons. The first one is going to be the Edit Mesh tools, and you can see I've already activated. So this will give you extra tools that you can use with polygon modeling, and also to manage edges and faces and so on. Now, there are other videos dedicated to these add-ons. So right now I'm just gonna go to the feature that we want to use right now. And then the other one is Tissue with the 2S, so Mesh Tissue. And this will help us to create things like panels that can be repeated and tessellation and so on. So once I have these two activated, let's start. So first technique, let me just move this aside, is to, well, this is the quickest way we can do this. So we're gonna go in the modifier and go to Add Modifier, and let's do the Lattice modifier. So it's right here in the deform. Now this is not actually creating a wireframe geometry. This is creating like a wireframe that we can use to deform our object. So once it's activated, I need an actual lattice object. So I'm going to go to Add and go to Lattice. Now the lattice object needs to be overlapping the object that you want to deform. So I'm going to just move this up. Okay. Now I can scale this, make it bigger, and so that it's like goes all around my object. Now this is a 2D object, but you can also create 3D objects and modify them with the lattice. And then I need some subdivisions as well here to work with this properly. So I need to go here in the lattice object panel, or object data properties, and I want to increase the number of subdivisions. The more subdivisions I insert, the more I can edit the object that's inside. Now this tends to get confusing, so try to work perhaps with not so many subdivisions, neither for the object or the lattice. So once I create the lattice, I can select the objects inside, and I can go here in the modifier and select the applied lattice modifier, click on this picker here, on this eyedropper, and then click on the lattice modifier. So they are now associated. So this means that if I modify the lattice, I modify what's inside that lattice. So if I want to create something really different, so I want to create like deformed surface here that goes like this, but again, you can try also with 3D shapes. I'm just gonna use this right now just to show you. So you can see now that I have deformed my object using the lattice. Now, if you wanna like get rid of the lattice, there are like many ways you can do that, but the easiest way, and also the one that we're gonna use right now, is to apply the modifier. So when you apply the modifier, it's like you are baking that into your object. So now our initial plane is this object right here, which is kind of being deformed by the lattice. So this is not an actual structural wireframe. This is not framing. How we can create a framing for this? Let me copy and paste again. Now, to create a wireframe, the easiest way is to go here and in the modifier again and select the wireframe. And you can see this is creating a wireframe. Looks nice, but when I get closer, you can see is well, it's not like the standard mullions that you find. These are like square profile. So, well, that's one way you can do it. And if you render these are going to be visible in your render instead of the simple lines. So this is the quickest way you can do this. And you can also adjust here the thickness if you want to change it and other stuff. Now let me copy and paste again. And another thing I can do is have more roundness to this. So I'm gonna go to, well, I'm gonna apply again this modifier, and then I'm gonna add some subdivisions surface. Well, that's not the object we are working on. So I'm gonna apply this right here and use subdivision surface. So you can see now I can get really rounded results. And if I don't want too much roundness, I can select again and let's use multi-resolution, which is similar to subdivision, but let's go for linear subdivision first. Let's do a couple of times and then subdivide. And now you can see that the third subdivision is the one that is causing the roundness. So this looks like something like a cage, iron cage, something like that. So you can see how many effects you can get using these modifiers. Now I'm gonna copy the plane and I'm gonna do some more examples. Now if I select all the faces like this and I press X, I can delete everything or only the faces. If I delete only the faces, I'm left with these segments right here. So I can select those segments and let's see what we can use with these 2D, because this is actually curves. This is not 3D. So I can use the skin modifier, which is going to create something like this. Now it doesn't always work. So it should create some framing, but I think there is a better tool, which is in the edit tools. So let's go to edit, mesh tools. So this is the other add-on that we activated, and one of these can be found in the edge tools right here, and it's called the edge floor plan. Now this turns all the curves into walls essentially, but if you get closer, you can see these are now straight. So you can create like a bookshelf for this effect, or let's increase the width. There you go. So you can see it's creating some thickness, but it's not like this one here. It's more like straight. And you can also change the offset a little bit. The initial extrude, you can change like the direction of the extrusion. So I find this to be really helpful when you need to do framing. There you go. So just play around with this and you will find like other interesting things. Again, I'm gonna take this initial plane, copy and paste. And now let's see the last effect. Now there are other possibilities here in the edit tools, but remember to switch in edit mode, otherwise you cannot use this. So for example, you can insert the edges, the faces, and then cut through. So you have other options. Now I'm just gonna go for the last one, which is gonna be tissue. And in this case, when you do tissue, you can create the panel and the base where you want to tessellate, where you want to repeat that panel. So let's create a panel for this thing right here. So I'm gonna go and create a new mesh, which is gonna be a plane. So this will be our repeated element. And if we want to do framing, let's do something really simple. So I'm gonna go to edit mode, extrude this, and again use this one here and this face at the bottom, this face at the top. Let's do inset and create the frame. So right click and bridge. So you have the frame. And now we can repeat this to all this one here really easy using tissue. So all we need to do is select this one here, select the base as a second or a last, and then go to tessellate, and you can see here the base is the plane and the component is the last plane that we edited, and then say OK, and this is now our frame. So if I move this one here, you can see I have a new one that is called tessellation, and with this one here I can modify it. So if I go, well, let me just Control C, Control V and copy this. So if I make changes to this one here, I can also use like proportional editing, which is fine, and go to edit mode and start to move things, and those are gonna move. You can see here with proportional editing is they're gonna take also the elements nearby. So it's another way you can modify that. And you can see it's automatically updates, but if it doesn't, you can go here in the object mode, go to the tissue tessellate and refresh every time. Yeah, now it refreshed, but it went back to the original. Now, if I want to change the type of panel, so let's take this one here and let's do something something strange. So let's go to modifier and do again subdivision. So it becomes like a ring instead of a square. Now, if I want to change it right here, back here into tessellation, and let's pick another base, no, not base object, but component mode. So another component, I'm gonna delete it, select, and use this other one. And you can see it changed it. So I'm creating another type of structure or skin instead of using the standard framing. So this will be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel, stay updated, and if you want, you can check our video courses in Blender. And if you want to support us, if you want to thank us, please join the channel as a supporter. See you in the next video.